Well, howdy YouTube, Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse, or should I call it the AMD Ryzen Playhouse, because that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's go look at all the parts that I've had come in for the new Ryzen builds that we're going to be doing here at Unky Joe's Playhouse. We're actually going to be doing 3 builds out of these parts that you're about to see. So come on, let's go take a look. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you a preview of things to come. Not one, but 2 Ryzen 5 processors. Not one, but 2 Ryzen 3000 ready motherboards. And not one, but 2 16 gig packs of DDR4 RAM. My, oh my, what fun are we about to have? Alright, so let's go over the parts that I've chosen and why. The first part, the most expensive part, actually I should say, no, this is the second most expensive part. This board was $169.99, and I was able to get that through donations through PayPal and Patreon, and some of my own money. Yes, I do put my own money back into this channel because I gotta have stuff to test, and I told myself when the new Ryzen came out I was going to get on this bandwagon, because it's been, what, a couple of years since I built my workstation. Anyway, the reason I went with the X570P is because I had not done my research prior to the purchase, and I was under the understanding that you needed a 570 chipset to run the new AMD Ryzen 5 3600 processor. You don't. You only need the 570 chipset if you're going to run PCI Express 4.0. So I kind of ordered this board in error, but that's all right. I've decided to put it to good use. Now, initially, this is going to be in the machine that we built for Jerry on the desk behind us, but through some problems that I'll discuss in an upcoming video, we decided to make this board my board. So this is the one I'm currently running on right now. I've already built the machine, but you're seeing this a couple of weeks after the fact. So it's a good little board. The only thing I don't like about these boards is when they put these fans, like right here on these chipsets. You know, these fans are going to get clogged up and fail. They're like, well, I could be wrong, but they're like laptop fans, and I just don't see them lasting any length of time. So it's a nice looking motherboard. It's white on black, and it's got the Aura sync in it. I'll just scroll down and let you take a look at it. You got 2 USB 2.0 ports. It does, one nice thing it does have is the old, let me click my mouse here so you can see it. It has the old DIN plug for keyboard or mouse. It has 2 USB 3.2 Gen 1 and 2 USB 3.2 Gen 2 ports on it. I love how they go from blue to teal, and now they're doing red on some of them. Anyway, HDMI LAN port. It's got 2 USB 3.2 Gen 2s right there. 8-channel audio, PCI Express 4, 2-way crossfire, except that is not actually a 16x slot there. I think it's running at 8x. It is a 16x slot physically, but running at 8x. Gaming audio, Pro Cool connector. It has those weird additional 4-pin power connector. You have that normal 8-pin power connector, and then it's got another 4-pin for more power on the board. And they do warn you in the manual to use the 8-pin. Don't use the 2-pin, or the 4-pin, I'm sorry. So to use the 8-pin, and if you have high power requirements, then you should use an additional 4-pin. So it's got addressable RGB header, front USB, X570 chipset, dual 64 gigabit per second M2 NVMe slots, 6 serial ATA 6 gigabit slots on RGB header too. So it's a nice looking board, and that's the one I've decided to go with on my main build, on my main workstation. In fact, it's, like I say, it's running right now. Then the other board I got was the Gigabyte B450 Aorus Pro Wi-Fi. You just, man, I cannot avoid Gigabyte. I love Gigabyte boards. I've always had good luck with them. My second choice is MSI. This Asus that I bought is the first time I've ever bought an Asus motherboard, so we'll see how it goes. But Here's the Aorus B450 Aorus Pro Wi-Fi. Normally I don't get Wi-Fi because I don't use it, but you know, it was 10 or 15 bucks more, and this board was in stock, so I just went ahead and got the Aorus with the Wi-Fi on it, and I'm glad I did. I may never use it, but in the future, you know, I might have some use for it. So, you know, it's pretty much got the same specs as the X570, except that it doesn't have PCI Express 4.0. But, you know, Gigabyte makes a really good board. And this is going to be the one that we use for Jerry's board. Now, this says it's AMD Ryzen Desktop 2000 ready. I can confirm that it does also work with the Ryzen 5 3600. I've used it. You do have to do BIOS updates on it, and there's a specific order you need to flash them. And we'll discuss that on the when we do the build for Jerry. Again, got pretty much the same features as the X570, like I said, with the exception of no PCI Express 4.0. And it has that built-in backplane on the board, but that can be a problem depending on what case you use. The case that I was initially going to put this in would not work in there because, and I'll show you as the video moves along as to why. Hybrid digital power design, yada yada, NVMe 2. So you can go here and read all the specs on it. That's what we got for the second build. Now this is the board I currently had running in my main rig, and that was the AB350 Gaming 3. Good motherboard, served me well. And the initial idea was to put it into the big white box that I had, the gaming PC that we built. You can see it right behind me there, that we built a year or so ago out of used parts. It was an i5 with a i5 motherboard in it. The problem is that that system only takes a mini ITX motherboard, and I did not have a mini ITX in my old system. I had a full-size AT motherboard. So just be aware that we are not going to use this board. I have ordered another board. I've actually ordered another AMD Aorus Pro B450, or I'm sorry, B450 Aorus Pro Wi-Fi, but I ordered the mini IT version, and that should be in a day or two, and you'll get to see us doing a build of that. So this board then is going to be up for a giveaway. We're going to do a giveaway in the next couple of weeks or so. I'll do a live stream. I'll announce ahead of time. I'm going to just give the bare board away, including shipping to your location. No memory, no CPU, no nothing like that. But it was a good board. It served me well, and we might as well, you know, try to give it back. And then for the main build, which is mine, I went with a Ryzen 5 3600, 6-core, 12-thread, boostable up to 4.2 gigahertz. It's an unlocked processor. I got that for $199. I ordered it off of, tried to order it off Amazon, but they were not available. So I had to do business with Newegg. I don't like necessarily doing business with Newegg, but they had it, and I got it here fairly quickly. The other processor we've ordered is a Ryzen 5 2600. So it's one level below the new Ryzen 5. It's one generation below. But it's also a good processor. I wanted to see how it performed. So this is the one we ordered for Jerry's machine. And then we're going to use the Ryzen 5 15 or 1600 out of my old build for the gaming unit that is on the desktop behind me. And then the RAM we ordered was the Corsair Vengeance LPX. I ordered 3000 megahertz RAM for the Ryzen 5 2600. And then for my build, I got the 3200 RAM for the Ryzen 5 3600. And already, remember I told you, no, I don't know if I told you in the live stream or not, but RAM prices are going up. Initially, I paid $69.99 for 16 gig of RAM. It's already gone up to $81.99 on the 3200, and on the 3000 it's gone up to $73.99. So be aware that RAM prices are going up. Also, SSD prices are going up, so by the time of this video they could be quite high. But if you're going to grab your RAM and your SSDs, do it before the prices go any higher. But this is the RAM we've decided to go with in these two builds. And then we'll just use the regular old RAM we had out of the Ryzen 5 1600. And the next question you might be asking is, why are we upgrading all these machines in the office to AMD to Ryzen 5 and not using Intel? Well, it's real simple: price, performance, value. I like the AMD chips. I like the price of them. I could probably build a compatible Intel system for close to the same amount of money, but I'm just not a big fan of Intel chips, the pricing on them. So, and I just like AMD, and I wanted to get my hand in all three generations of the AMD processors. Some would say Intel's better for gaming. I don't know. I'm not a gamer, but there are other professionals out there that can tell you. But for getting work done, these AMD 6-core 12-thread processors just can't be beat. There's so many things I can do with these machines. I can do virtualization on them. I can do game emulation on them. I can do whatever I need to, whatever projects I want to do. And then I have reserved capacity as I move along. Usually I delegate virtualization to one of those Dell or IBM servers, but it would be nice to be able to spin up VMs quickly at a moment's notice and to try different things with some of these desktop units. So that's why I've decided to go the AMD route, basically just because price. The other reason I go with these lower end builds or lower cost builds and try to save as much money as I can is because, like you, I live on a budget. I'm not a big YouTuber. I've got a really decent following, and I appreciate every one of the subs, but I don't have the kind of money to throw around some of these other channels do, like Linus, Jay's 2 Cents, those kind of guys, where they can get really involved into the benchmarking and do those kind of things. I'm kind of like the everyman stance. What would you buy if you were just a regular Joe off the street like me? And how will it perform in the long term, and what will it let you do? So that's why I'm doing these builds on these videos. So there's going to be 3 more videos. I'm going to show you the build process of mine and the results of the tests, the build process of Jerry's unit, and then the build process of the gaming unit in the meantime. So you've got those videos to look forward to. So back in the day, I used to be a PC builder when I worked for a computer company years ago. It's been 20 plus years now. But that's what we used to do. We used to build custom PCs for one of the local colleges here, a big university in San Antonio. I must have built a couple hundred PCs for that university over the course of time. So I'm very familiar with PC building. So what we used to do, you have to burn in machines to make sure you get good quality components and whatnot. So I've always been in the habit of, before I build the actual PC, I put it together on the bench and I burn it in. So let's go look how I do that with the limited resources I have here. All right, so we got the unit on the bench, and the motherboard that is sitting on top of the box is indeed the B450 Aorus Pro Wi-Fi from Gigabyte. And if you watched the live stream last Saturday, you saw me unveil these parts. I got this Aorus motherboard. I also got an Asus Prime X570P motherboard, so I could have PCI Gen 4 support moving forward in my zest to convert everything here in Uncle Joe's Playhouse over to AMD, well, at least for our workstations. This is the Ryzen 5 3600, not the X model, just the plain Jane 3600. I've got 16 gig of Corsair RAM in there, 3200 megahertz 2x8 sticks Vengeance LPX RAM. Right now I just have a jury-rigged NVIDIA or Gigabyte GTX 950, I believe it is. Let's see here. I'm running a test on it right now. Yeah, it's a GTX 950. It's all I had to put in there to test it. I've got a serial ATA drive, a serial ATA SSD drive connected here. Now, initially, when I booted this up, I put in the Ryzen 5 3600 CPU, and the unit would not boot. And that was to be expected, because when you get these boxes, or when you get these boards, from Newegg or Amazon or where you would give them, they typically have an older BIOS on them. This board does specifically support the Ryzen 5 36 or 3000 series, but you have to do an incremental BIOS flash on it. So I had to do about 4 BIOS flashes to get that chip to work. Fortunately, though, I thought ahead and I went ahead and bought a Ryzen 5 2600 CPU, which is the previous generation of Ryzen. I was able to put that in this board, boot it up, and flash the BIOS. And each time I flashed the BIOS, I booted up into Windows, made sure everything was working properly. And it's funny because this version of Windows 10 is from an old bench unit running an old AMD Athlon X4 processor. So I just popped it in here and it detected all the new hardware and it's been working fine. I've also been burning this unit in overnight. It ran fine. And then of course I have my handy dandy thermometer here, handheld thermometer. So as you can see, even right now the card's only running at about 102 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know if you can see that clearly or not. The back side of the card's getting up to about 133 Fahrenheit, where the heat sink is here. Other than that, the RAM's running about 85 degrees. The CPU cooler is at about 90. It's about 74 degrees here in my office and 38% humidity. So there's the temperature for you. And I'm running the Heaven benchmark right now. I'm not actually running the benchmark, I'm just letting the video play. It's drawing about 138 watts from the wall. I've got a 400 watt power supply there, an Antec that I had laying around. I have ordered a new power supply for this, a modular one, Seasonic, I believe. They had I cannot believe the prices they're getting on power supplies right now. RAM went down, SSD prices went down, and then the frickin' price of power supplies went up. This is the other board. This is the Asus Prime X570P. And in this unit, I have the AMD Ryzen 5 2600 CPU. Give you an idea of that. It comes in a big box with a Race Stealth cooler. I've got that mounted on there. I've got the Corsair Vengeance RAM. Now this is only 3000 megahertz RAM. I do need to have a board that's capable of PCI Express 4 moving forward. So I got the lowest end board I could get from Asus. The Gigabyte one was too expensive, so I went with this one from Asus. And plus I wanted to give Asus a try. So again, this will have the Ryzen 5 2600 CPU in there, and then 16 gig of RAM. And we'll be putting that on the bench and we'll be testing that here. The CPU I got for about $119, the RAM was $70, and the motherboard was $169. So I've got a significant investment in that. The Aorus motherboard I think was $120. The CPU was $199, and the RAM on that was $70. So there you go. So that's how I do my pre-builds or pre-burn-in, and then I run a program like Ada, or run a benchmarking program to run through the video render or whatever. I just kind of put the machine through its paces to make sure we're not going to have memory issues, CPU issues, heat issues, that kind of thing. It allows me to take my digital thermometer out and measure the temperatures of the VRMs and the memory and the CPU and the video card all outside the case. Now I could buy one of those, $70 stands to put the motherboard on to test it, but I find it's easier just sit it on top of the motherboard box, plug all your stuff in, and be careful with your power supply, etc., and test it right there on the bench. I just find that's the easiest way to do it. So that's my testing procedure. So there you go. There's a list of all the parts we're going to be using and a quick overview of them. And now in the next video, I'll be building my machine. I don't know that I'm going to do the whole build and document it all, but we'll get to the end of that build, and then you'll see the test results I get with various benchmarking programs. I'm not big into benchmarking, but I know people like to see those kind of results. So I'll show you all the parts I've used on mine and what kind of speed results I'm getting. So you got that to look forward to. But anyway, we hope you found this video entertaining and informative as always. Please give us a thumbs up down below. Leave your comments in the comments section. I love seeing your and responding to your comments, so keep those coming. Donate if you're so inclined. We take PayPal, we take Patreon. It helps keep the channel running and for us to get new stuff like this in to test out. So there you go. Don't forget to come back and see us again soon. And don't forget, we'll see you on the other side.